The Spifter. The Spifter is a fun sifting spoon that makes cooking, baking, and decorating with sugars and spices so much fun. No more mess or wasting your spices. It's fast, clean, and easy. Everything looks and tastes delicious. It's also great for straining loose tea, getting pesky broken cork out of your wine glass, and draining liquid off food like olives and capers. Whether you're a novice cook or a gourmet chef, you'll love the results. The Spifter, the kitchen gadget that no kitchen should be without. Hey there, it's Diane Forster, and I am here with Ann Landstrom, and this is the first episode of I Have Today in studio in about 2 years, and I'm so excited to have you with me today, Ann. Oh my gosh, we are going to have such a great show. All right, so this is I Have Today, where we talk about the art of intentional living, and we're going to talk all things branding today. I have Ann here with me, or actually I'm in her studio, and what we're going to do is a two-part episode. This is part one of our episode, and we're going to really focus on branding today. The name of our episode is Why Your Branding Photos Need to Be Personal. Why do they need to be personal? You should have your personality in them. Are your photos expired, as Ann likes to say, right? Or are they up to date? And one of the reasons why I wanted to have Ann on, we've become really good friends. I worked with Ann earlier this year, actually almost a year ago, and updated my branding photos because they were quite expired. I didn't even look like the same person anymore. And it was such a great experience. And we've stayed connected ever since. And we collaborate together and work together. And I wanted to share her with you because she has some really exciting news. She is, well, let me tell you about her first before I get too much into it. So Ann is an award-winning master photographer with over 20 years in the photography industry. She has photographed public figures and influencers and has been featured in magazines and numerous podcasts. Ann is a mentor, educator, and part of the largest online education for photographers, the Portrait Masters, which I'm sure she's going to talk about that. She specializes in branding, boudoir, and fine art portraits. Her passion and the drive is to bring out the best version of each of her clients to elevate their business and also their self-esteem through her transformational lens. And I've experienced it. Let me just show you the latest work that Ann and I did together without being serious. We were hanging out, girls. We were just having a lot of fun. It was a girls' night out. And team, can you show the first photo? Look at this picture Ann took of me. I mean, this is her. And this is collaborative. It's part me too, but it's all her. Now, I did not do professional hair or makeup or anything like that, but she just knew. She knew what to put me in. She knew how to light me. She knew how to blow the fan on me. She knew the background, goofing around. Imagine what she could do for you. And look at, I don't know how much you can see. Okay, you can take that picture down. But we've got a selection of some of her photos behind us. The whole studio is filled with gorgeous, gorgeous branding and boudoir photography. So, okay, Ann, before I get into our questions, I have to tell everybody we do a daily and weekly intention statement. And our intention statement this week is, I have today to put my personality in everything I do. I have today to put my personality in everything I do. And you should be authentically you in everything that you're doing. And Ann is certainly an expert at that and is going to talk about that. All right, what we do, the team here and I, we create these wallpapers with the intention statement on them on my Instagram page at I Have Today with Diane Forster. I'm sorry, at Diane Forster Official, Diane Forster Official. If you go there, there's going to be a little button that says wallpapers and you can find one. And this one's already there. Did you make the graphic? Yeah, there it is. So what I want you to do with it is I want you to use it as your screensaver like this, right? So every time you look at your phone, which is 150 times over the course of a day, yes, you look at your phone that often, you're seeing it and it's a reminder. And that's how we make positive permanent change through repetition. So grab your screenshot of that right there. I have today to put my personality into everything I do. All right, so Ann, so nice to have you here.
Thank you
Well,
for having me.
I'm so excited.
I'm so excited.
I know, and I love this space. I love the energy of her studio. If you haven't worked with Ann, you need to work with her. All right, so you have a story, and this show is all about transformation and the art of intentional living, and you definitely are living that way, and you are committed to your purpose and to really helping people. But how did you become, why and how did you become this world-renowned photographer?
Well, it started with my dad.
Okay.
I'm originally from Sweden. I moved here in 1984, and back then it was all film. And remember when we all actually had photographs, like printed photographs, and we
Yes.
would send them and share them. And I always sent home pictures to my family. And my dad said, "Well, you're so good at this that your pictures are incredible. Why don't you go take a photography class?" And I already loved the art since I was a little girl. Always used to sit and draw and paint. And I was actually taking classes at the college, the local college where I was living in Orange County. And I looked into their photography program, and they had one of the best ones in the country for the junior colleges.
Okay.
And after Photography 101, I just fell in love. I took every single class they had. And then I looked at the people in my area in Los Angeles that I really liked the work. And I went and I knocked on the door, and I'm like, "Hi, I just got out of photography school. I like to assist, be your assistant. And you don't have to pay me until I deserve to be paid."
Wow.
And that's how it all started. And I got into being an assistant to a lot of really well-known photographers. And so I learned a lot about kind of putting everything together. And then in that whole journey, I have kind of niche down to what I'm doing right now, which is mostly branding and boudoir and some portraits. But that's how it all started, thanks to
Wow.
my dad.
Thanks to your dad.
Yeah.
And you for having the chutzpah to go and knock on the doors and just say, "Hey, I'm willing to work." And you went to the best. I love this. There's so many entrepreneurial lessons in here, and there's so many nuggets that everything you do is so classy. It's so elegant. It's really just, I mean, if you could see, look at what I'm looking at, and look at what's behind us. Everything you do is so well done. It's stylish, it's classy. Yeah.
Yeah, I've always been attracted to uh, clothing, fashion, all of that, and design. So
Just
I'm a bit of a people say it's better to get it done and get it out there than perfect. And I'm like, no. Because for me, you don't have a second impression. You only
Right.
have one first impression. You don't get a number two. So I like to get it right the first time.
Yes,
Um,
it's so true. Yes, you do only have one chance to make a first impression, and it's really important, especially in this day and age, because everything that we do is on social media.
Mhm.
Everything is instant, instant gratification,
Yeah.
scrolling. We have, I think it's down to 2 seconds now to capture somebody's attention. So if it's not grabbing you,
Yeah.
they're going to scroll and keep going on. So this matters a lot in your branding. So when I worked with Ann, these are some of the photos that she produced for me, and we use them. If you guys are fans of I Have Today, you've seen these before. So show a couple of the shots that she did for me. I mean, that one is such a winner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have to tell you that I won top TV host and mindset coach this year from one organization, and I won America's Most Inspirational Mindset Coach. And I know a lot of that has to do with my branding.
Mhm.
Definitely, for sure. Because when people are looking to, who's doing what in the
Yeah.
world, and they see these photos and they see me and then the body of work too, but their first impression
Mhm.
are these photos of me. It makes a big difference. It's
Yes.
definitely elevated my business and brand this
Well,
year.
it's like what you said in the beginning. If your pictures are looking expired, well, most likely your potential client is probably going to feel the same way.
Yes.
So what are you missing? You're missing out on a lot of it. It could be a lot your new business partner, your new clients on the other side of those images, right? I
Right.
mean, and people are thinking, well, you show up, it is how you show up in one thing, is that how you show up in everything.
Right. Right.
So at least that's when I'm looking for somebody. I do my research and I go and snoop around on not only their website, I go on the Facebook to see what's there, and you'll see, kind of get a feel of who they are. And your Facebook page is not really private anymore, because that's what a lot of people or employers, if you're working or looking for a job, that's what they do these days. They go look at all your social media to see
Yeah.
how you present yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, and I've been working to get into the media more, and I've been meeting a lot of editors and producers and reporters, and they all say that they go. It used to be Twitter. It's not Twitter. They go to Instagram first. They want to
Mhm.
see you, and that's where they're going. So, how are you showing up in the world? Yeah.
And also, the funny thing is, you think that you want to show off whatever product or hide behind your logo, so to speak. But when you post images with you on it, you get most engagement.
Yes.
And because people want to know who you are and what you're up to and why you're doing what you're doing and why you are the expert that I should hire.
Yes.
So I say, stop hiding behind your logo, because your face is now your logo.
Yes. And that's why we named the show about your branding needs to be personal,
Mhm.
because it really, you are the person, people by people, not the products. The products really are secondary.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a really good point. So what makes you different? I mean, you are very, the organization you're with, you're one of the mentors there. I don't know the official title of it, but you're mentoring a community of 7,000 other photographers. You're doing things better and differently. What makes yours so different? What do you think it is?
Well, number one, I put the time in. It's been 20 plus years. I have trained with the best. I find it very important to invest back into yourself.
Yes.
I've invested a lot of time, money, and effort into become an expert. I'm very passionate. I think that's the key. You really got to be passionate about what you do, and people pick up on that. They feel your passion, and I also love to connect with people. I do a whole consultation beforehand. I want to learn more about who I'm going to have in front of my lens, so I can connect on a deeper level and bring out the essence of that person rather than just a photo.
Right.
So I want to see, like, what light you up, what makes you laugh, who is your client, how do you dress when you go and meet that client, because figure it out. These days we don't meet our client in person, or
Right.
potential client.
Right.
So you want to come across in your images like if somebody would meet you in person, your personality. That's why it's called personal branding.
Right.
Your personality want to shine through. When you dress, you want to dress for success, because you want to stand out from your competitors. But you also can dress something. I always say, bring something casual, something fun, something personal, because we can always bring that into your website. But I see a lot of people that say, "Oh, I love cafe lattes and long walks on the beach and all that." People really don't care. People care when they come to your stuff, what you can do for them.
Right. Right. It is so true.
Yeah.
With them, what's in it for me? That's what they care about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one of the other things you do, because I know you've done it for me, and I know you've done this for Lisa Nichols and Forbes Riley and so many other, influencers and big name people, is you really get to spend so much time with us before you even pick up the lens. You really get to know us, and I think that's why you're able to bring out qualities that it's intimidating to get your pictures taken.
Oh yeah, most people rather go to the dentist.
Yes.
Than step in front of the lens.
Yes.
Because once you're in front of there, you're afraid, like, oh God, what are we going to see?
Yes.
On the other side?
Right.
Are they going to see my
bulge
top or my double chin or whatever? Because we are so critical about ourselves when we look in the mirror. And I find, because of the expertise that I have in posing, lighting, and everything, I have said, okay, in my studio we have banned photogenic. I don't know who came up with photogenic in the first place. I mean, who
Yes.
decides if somebody
Yeah.
is photogenic or not? That's
Right.
just a pre,
Yes.
something that somebody came up with. So I say we're all soulgenic, because that's really what
Mm,
it's all about.
right.
Is our souls, and showing that through in our expression, in our eyes, in our souls. So I get a lot of people saying, I don't know what you do, but you bring out the essence and the soul in people.
Mhm.
And I believe it's because of all the work that I've done on myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think that would have a lot to do with it too.
Yeah.
Because you know what? You don't know. Hey, I attempted suicide in 2011, and people hear that and they're like, you, because nobody knew what was going on
Yeah.
beneath the surface. And it's so important to do that work on yourself.
Yeah.
And we all have it. And the fear, I did a social media post about this show, and I said, I was, really shy about doing it. And I'm not a shy person. I'm on camera all the time. It's still a vulnerable, scary place to be, is being photographed. It
Mhm.
is. It
Yeah.
is. But
Because you have to own all of you.
yes.
Right?
Yes.
And it's interesting, and I find this interesting myself too as a photographer. And I'm just like everybody else. I criticize myself like everybody else
Yes.
does. I've learned like to say, okay, stop it,
Right.
go away. You're fine just the way you are. And but it's now I lost my train of thought. Where was I going with this whole thing?
Well, we're talking about how vulnerable, and that we have to
yes,
own all of
vulnerability.
us.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I think it's once something happens, particularly for my boudoir clients, my ladies that actually bear it all or almost all, is we learn how to fall in love with ourselves again. And the camera, this is where I was going. The camera sees, in my opinion, something else that we don't see.
Yes.
And it's interesting because I see it too. I go to my photography friends, and we take turns with taking pictures, and I'm like, I don't feel good, I don't look good, I'm not, this is not going to turn out good.
Right.
And then I have to trust them too.
Right.
And then I look and like, oh, that's not so bad after all.
Right.
And yeah,
I think it's good that you do that. You're the professional, but you're also a client. You get into the shoes of what the client's experience is like. That's great that you do that. Yeah.
Well, I have to have my own personal brand.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's one thing too, especially as a business owner and entrepreneur. That's like people who build websites and their website's a mess. You have to represent your brand really, really well. So, okay, so you have a new course coming out. Tell us why you created that.
So I get a lot of clients that fly in from other states or other places.
Sorry.
Okay?
No.
I gave Diane a muffin before the show, and I think she's.
I'm joking on it.
Yeah. So I do get clients from out of state coming here, and I get clients calling me from out of state saying, "Are you ever going to be in Florida or New York or this and that?" Because they've seen my work and they want to work with me. And I'm like, no. And they're like, can you do it on Zoom? And I'm like, no,
Right.
it won't be the same quality. And and then when my clients are in here, a lot of them are either coming out of corporate and starting their own new business. They're either rebranding, or I get a lot of women that are been coming out of divorce or something and starting over, or they're empty nesters and they like, okay, now what do I do? I want to do what I always wanted to do, my dream of starting X, Y, and Z business.
Right.
So then they don't know where to work. There's so many steps as an entrepreneur.
Right.
I'm the first one in my family that is actually an entrepreneur from scratch.
Right.
And so I have had to learn a lot, because I never saw myself as a business person. I always say I'm an artist.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to run a business, I better know how to run a business, right? Unless I want
you got to learn the business side of business.
Yeah, unless I want to be the ones that nobody knows about, the best kept secret.
Right.
And so I learned a lot of how in my own business, and from some of my a big influencer clients, they taught me a lot too of what they do. So when my client comes in there and I was like, okay, you got to go do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. And they're like, oh my God, it's like I got my whole business in a box, just come and have my pictures here. And then I thought, I didn't realize how much I know until you talk to somebody I don't know. And that comes to all of us with our businesses.
Right.
So, and plus, it gets expensive to hire marketing people, graphic designers, personal branding photographers, and somebody that puts everything together for you.
Yes.
And I mean, you start lining all that up. I mean, it's gets over 10K.
Right.
And when you're starting out, a lot of people, I sure didn't have that kind of money when I started. So I felt, there's a lot of people that it's in need of something that can get them started. And so I put together this course, which I call Brand Like a CEO.
Yes.
And what I teach a lot about, number one, we got to know who our client is. And a lot of my clients, I ask them, who is your client? Well, women. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, how old are they? How do they dress like? What do they do? What do they work? How much money do they make? I mean, you got to know who your client is down to the T. And why is that? Because you got to know who you market to. Once you have all your stuff ready, well, now you got to market to your perfect client.
Right.
So I teach you how to narrow that down, how to set up your own in-home or office studio or set. I have a whole online store put together on Amazon. You can just go. I will show you from every budget. You can start with your iPhone or buy a $500 camera that will get you decent pictures, and what backgrounds, lighting, all of that, and then okay, now you have your pictures. What do you do now? What do you do? How do you pick the ones? How do you pose? What do you use them for?
Right.
So there's a lot packed in there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so it starts in January. It's a 6 weeks course for now, and until it goes evergreen after that. And I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to help a lot of people at least get going. There's one thing that I would say is, and I've heard this a lot of times, it's better to, it doesn't have to be perfect, just start.
Right.
Right.
Right. Right.
And so this is a start, so you can get your marketing up and not stop hiding behind your logo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen the course because, we're friends. I'm excited. I'm actually signed up for it and I'm supporting it because a lot of you out there probably can't afford to hire the expensive teams to do it all. And this is such a great skill for people to know, because once you do this, and by the way, Ann's teaching this live for initially. And she's got a special deal on it for our audience. So we're going to share that link with you in just a second. But so she's going to be right there teaching it live, doing live Q&A, and she's going to help and support you, which is so incredibly valuable. So I would get in as soon as you possibly can to be a part of that before it does go evergreen. But the way you teach it is, methodically and easily. So you can do it. You can do it right here. You can do it right now. Like, no excuses for you to improve your brand, but, by creating these incredible images that you could do yourself, and also tightening up your branding so that your marketing and your messaging is really on point and on target, right?
Yeah. And not only that, I'm also sharing all the links to all these different websites that I've found incredible, helpful in my business.
Yeah.
So that I didn't know about until somebody told me, and I'm like, oh my God, this is game changer.
Yeah.
So all of those links I'm sharing with you guys, and I'm going through them, and they'll say, this is the ones that I use, that I recommend. And because I mean, it takes a lot in your business to have and if you don't have the knowledge, and if you don't have anybody helping you, if you can afford to hire a business coach, graphic designer, personal brand, the list goes on, right? Web designer, you got to start somewhere, and I think this course would really help you with doing that. And I'm going to do a couple of live shoots where I'm going to go into somebody's business and show them how to set up a set there that they can easily take down if they need to. And so we would do one that is going to be with artificial lights, and pretty inexpensive that you can buy on Amazon and set up and take down whenever you need it. And then also I'm going to teach you how to do it with natural light. So if you don't have the budget to buy the lighting yet, you can use God's light, which is we have available all the time.
Beautiful. So good. It's so exciting. I'm really, really happy for you. I'm happy for all of you. It's been a, something in the making to put this together. And it's called Brand Like a CEO. So team, will you share the link right now where you can get you can get in and sign up for it. The link is right there. So we'll also have it in the show notes for you, and get in while Ann's discounting $500 off for our community. So don't delay. All right. So before we wrap up this segment, this part one, is there any final words that you want the audience to know about branding and making it personal?
Well, just think about one thing. If I can just give you a visual, think about two tennis shoes, both white. One has a little sliver on it, a black sliver, and that's $1,500. The other one does not, and it's $12.99. Same shoe, but this one is Nike, and they branded themselves with this. So it's a brand recognition, and you can do that yourself with your branding, with your colors, with your fonts and everything. So people remember you, and they know, oh, that's Diane Forster. Mm-hmm. I recognize her images, her graphics. I mean, it all kind of goes together. But it's also like a dating site, right? It's going to be swipe left to swipe right. That's what people are going to do on your business as well, yes, depending on what they see.
So true. So powerful. All right. Well, Ann, it's been so great to talk branding. Make sure that you sign up for a Brand Like a CEO, Ann's course. And then also, where else can they follow you?
Well, they can follow me on Ann Photography 1. That's my Instagram. And I'll have my website, annphotography.com. And the course you can find at brandlikeaceo.com or branding CEO, either one of those.com. And I hope to see you in front of my lunch one day or in my course starting January. I'll be there every step of the way.
So wonderful. All right. Well, thank you so much, Ann. And stay tuned because we're going to be back with part 2 when we're going to talk about Boudoir photography and Ann's incredible brand that she's building called Ageless. So we'll see you next time. Take care. This week's episode of I Have Today is brought to you by the Spifter. The Spifter is a fun sifting spoon that makes cooking, baking, and decorating with sugars and spices so much fun. No more mess or wasting your spices. It's fast, clean, and easy. Everything looks and tastes delicious. It's also great for straining loose tea, getting pesky broken cork out of your wine glass, and draining liquid off food like olives and capers. Whether you're a novice cook or a gourmet chef, you'll love the results. The Spifter, the kitchen gadget that no kitchen should be without. Hey there, it's Diane Forster, and welcome to I Have Today, the show that inspires, empowers, and educates you. And we talk about the art of intentional living. And I am here in Ann Landstrom's studio, her beautiful photography studio. We're in Carlsbad, California, and we're back with part 2 of my interview with Ann Landstrom. So this is what she says. Represent yourself and your brand with the best image you have ever seen of yourself and attract your perfect client. Fall in love with that image, looking back at you from her lens with Ann Photography. You will have magazine quality images of the best version of yourself representing you and your business. You will have legacy portraits to leave behind for your children and grandchildren since you can't frame your phone. You only get one chance to make a first impression. All right, Ann. So we're back. We had episode 1, part 1. We talked all things branding because Ann is a brilliant branding photographer. I've hired her. She's done my branding shots. I'm actually working with her again at the beginning of the year to do new ones, and I'm excited about it. But Ann also is extremely talented as a boudoir photographer, and she's got a passion for women, especially women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, beyond, and bringing out their beauty. So welcome, Ann.
Thank you. Thank you.
So great to have you here. So of course we want to know your story. How did you get into the boudoir side of photography?
Well, backtracks a bit of a mess that turned into a message.
Okay.
In 2011, I went through a brutal divorce from a narcissistic husband that was verbally and mentally abusive. I was really, I see myself as a strong, independent woman.
Yeah.
Okay. That if I look back at that woman today, she was curled up in a corner, didn't know who she was, with my 6-year-old standing, holding me from the back, saying, "Don't listen to him, Mom. Don't listen to him, Mom."
Oh,
so
goodness.
That eventually ended up being that I got thrown out of the house and homeless with a 6-year-old at age 50. And the only thing that I did have was my photography. I had been a house. He didn't want me to work. This was my second husband. So I was home and I still worked and helped other photographers, but he didn't want me to like have my own business because then he would lose control over me, right? That's what they do. I didn't even have my own bank account. I had to ask for money. And so what happened was I laid and cried for probably a couple months and felt sorry for myself.
Okay.
And didn't know where do I go from here.
Understandably. Yeah.
And you think it's not going to happen to you until it does. And I mean, everybody thought I was living the perfect life. I had a beautiful home on an acre, distant ocean view. Everything looked perfect from the outside, but the inside, it was just my personal hell.
Yes.
But nobody's watching. And so eventually I had to, and this goes with my brand and everything. Even though I was homeless, I was the best dressed homeless person around.
I don't doubt that.
Nobody knew. I would go pick up my son. I had all my suitcases in the back of my car. I didn't know where I was going to be sleeping the next night. And nobody knew. I was the best hider.
Wow.
And I mean, a few good friends, right?
Yeah.
But other than that, nobody knew. Because I think when stuff happens to you, you carry a lot of guilt and shame, and you don't want to. Until
there is guilt and shame with it.
Yeah.
And then when you're beaten down by a narcissist, there's even more of that. You feel even worse about yourself. So
right, because they gaslight you
Yes.
until you think like, oh my God, there's something wrong with me.
Right. I can relate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's so many women out there that have, and men. I mean, it's also not as common, but I know it's common for men to be in relationships like that as well. But to get back to the question, I eventually one day I went and picked up my son from school, and he came in and sat in the back seat, and he goes like this on my shoulder, "Mommy." And I looked in the rear mirror, and he's like, "Let's go home, Mommy." And I was like,
yeah.
Well, and then he goes, "Oh, that's right. We don't have a home." And that was like my pivot point, like,
wow.
Because I had, like a lot of us when we were like in the hole, I had thought about ending my life. I had thought about, this is not my life. This is not me. And that was my turnaround. I'm like, okay, I have to, I turned myself that day in from a beat up alley cat to a roaring lion.
Yes.
Because that I just thought, okay, nobody's coming to help me. I gotta help myself.
Yes.
And
yes.
So I started to look for photography jobs on Craigslist. Actually, the first job I got was I was a caterer for a company. I used to have a job, and that was doing that for a couple of months, and until I eventually could get in and rent a room in somebody else's house. So I had a room with my son and my 110-pound German Shepherd. We're like piled in this 8 by 8, 10 by 10 room, and then eventually I got a job, a boudoir for a boudoir studio.
Okay.
And when I looked at the ad, I'm like, boudoir, what is that? And then I looked it up and I'm like, oh, how cheesy. Who the heck wants to have all these pictures in their lingerie?
Right.
Because the last thing I was feeling sexy or sensual after
Right.
gone through the relationship. I mean, I would bring my underwear up to here, so I didn't have to sleep with my husband, because
Right.
you're being called all these names, and the last thing you want to do is jump in bed with somebody that doesn't respect you.
Right.
And but I thought, okay, it's a job. I love photography. Let's see what happens. So I went and applied, and I had to get the job. It was a cute little studio here in Carlsbad. I had to have the boudoir session myself.
Okay.
And I'm like, let me think about this. Let me, so I went home, brewed on it, and then, okay, all right, I'll do it. So I went in, and this photographer that was working there, other photographer, photographed me. And it was so empowering, because I was beating myself. I was so beaten down.
Yes.
That I'm like, okay, I get it now.
Yes.
I get this. And then, so I got the job. And I was a photographer there, and then I edited for 3 other studios, because this lady's business just grew so quickly. She ended up having 16 studios across the country.
Wow.
And she kind of put boudoir on the map, back on the map again. And I ended up having the largest sales. I was on commission. And she said, Ann, I don't know what you're doing, but keep on doing it. You have the largest sales in the company.
Wow.
And I'm like thinking, like, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. And then I figured out. I was like, I put the camera down, and I was, hi Diane, I'm Ann. What's going on with you? What's your story? Tell me more about you. Are you married? What's your struggles? What do you love about yourself? What do you don't like about yourself? And I had that conversation, and sometimes I was more of a therapist,
yes,
than a photographer, and sometimes I was more in therapy than a photographer. Yes. Depending, it was this bonding between women, and once that wall came down, because like we talked about before, nobody loves to step in. I mean, some people do, but most people don't love stepping in front of the lens.
Right.
And a lot of women came because they wanted to gift this to their significant other. But they realized by the time the shoot was over that this was the biggest gift to themselves.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So
that's
true. How it started.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I've done boudoir, not with you yet, but I know that it's coming. I know we're going to be doing it. And it was so empowering too. And it was a gift. We're friends, and we have so many things in common. My divorce started in 2011. And I found out about what was going on, and my suicide attempt was in 2011. So it's so amazing that, first of all, thank you so much for being here, and not doing anything, and, showing up. Right. And what a role model you are for other women out there who are struggling, because you're very, very passionate about this. And I want to talk about the Ageless brand. You started this a year or so ago?
It was right before COVID.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. So what is Ageless?
So Ageless is, I decided to start photographing women over 40 and 50 and beyond, because the cover girl of the Ageless magazine that I ended up creating from this project is 90. So that just showed me that.
Look at her. 90 years old.
90.
Yeah, but look at your photograph.
And but what started, I was putting ads out on Facebook, and I thought, I'm going to put out and see if I can get women to come in and do this in their lingerie, because I know there was other photographers that were doing similar project, but they were like portraits, right? Like women to come in and have the portrait taken. But I knew that this was, and they didn't know, of course, and I'm like, well, I know that you're doing this as a gift, but trust me, this is going to be the biggest gift that you can give yourself. So I ended up getting a lot of, I was surprised actually how I got so, there was like, my gosh, I think it was like 150 women the first week. I didn't even have time to get back to everybody. It was crazy.
Amazing.
It was crazy. Yes.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit. So I got to photograph some of them, and I had a 6-month wait list of for this project. And I didn't only photograph them, I also had them write a love letter to themselves, because I thought, it all goes together, right? It's from like loving yourself from the inside out, and also acknowledging what you have been through. And most of the women that I photographed had come on the other side of whatever it was. And I mean, I had women in here that had gone through cancer, lost their husband, lost their children, to divorce, to abuse, and everything in between. And like, I get goosebumps.
Yeah.
And I was like photographing and sharing the story. And I interviewed a lot of them on video, sharing the story. I knew from sharing my own story how you just don't know who needs to hear that.
Yes.
Who needs to read that? Who needs to see like, oh, if she can do it, I can do it too. And like I said, and if I say she was the oldest woman, she get mad at me because she doesn't call herself old. The most mature woman was 90. Okay, I had photographs of women in the 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s, 40s for this project, and when it comes, and my curviest lady was over 400 pounds.
Wow.
And she went through a whole, I mean, she's never said, I never felt this beautiful.
Wow.
So I still to this day can't say why when you strip down literally, because that's what it is. What it does, but I've seen women that it's changed their whole lives. I mean, they got walked out of here a different person, and they go and kill it in business or change the relationship, or they're about to leave their significant others. They go home and they're, so I believe it is you fall in love with you.
Yes.
Maybe for the first time, or maybe you've forgotten about yourself, and this was your turn to look at yourself, all of it. And some of us, we have had children, we have stretch marks, we have stuff hanging in places that we don't want it to hang, all of it, right? And we have that voice when we look at ourselves in the mirror that we would never tell anybody else.
Right.
Like I wouldn't say,
right,
Diane, you're really, muffin top is really hanging. It's getting too big. Oh my gosh, you're looking old. But this is the conversations that we have in the mirror.
Yes.
So I say, we'll all we have is now, today.
All we have is today.
All we have is today.
Yeah.
So why beat yourself up? Why not love the person that you are now? Because we can't be 25 again. We're not going to look like we were 25 again.
No.
Even if you have plastic surgery, you're not going to look like you were 25 again. You're going to look like you had plastic surgery to try to look like 25.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And to embrace the, the aging process or the growing older process, because you're saying ageless, and ageless really does mean we're not defined by an age anyway, right? And beauty is from within. And I don't know about you, but I still feel like I'm 20 in my 20s, in my soul still feels that way. We're always still us. And how do you get these women to strip down to nothing? What is that about? Is it in the conversation that they start feeling more comfortable?
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. And I've had women come in here for branding, and they're like, no, that looks great, but not me.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to do that. And by the end of the session, they're walking around in here naked. And they're like, and I don't know what you did. I was not going to do it. And here I am.
Yeah.
And it's because I know how empowering it is that. I'm like, well, you don't have to. We can just do it. You can just wrap yourself up in a sheet or whatever. But it's really not about the pictures. I mean, it is. They're a great reminder of,
and their art. They really
their
are
art of you is what it is. And this is something that you would look at, say, if you do this in your 40s, when you're 70, 80, or might even want to pass it down to your daughter, or this is something that these are not. The images that I do they're not penthouse or hustler.
No.
Okay. It's all about bringing out your feminine essence, your sensuality, that sexuality that maybe has been on the back burner for many years. And, wearing beautiful lingerie is something that makes you feel good, even if nobody knows you're wearing it.
Right.
Because when I got that job, that first boudoir studio job, I went home and I tossed out all my, all my
torn cotton,
the ones that I bought,
underwear.
the ones that I bought at Walmart, and had the sex appeal was left at the checkout counter. They all went.
Yeah.
And I went and I bought myself, even though I was single, and I bought myself all new lingerie, because when you feel good, you look good, and it all kind of comes from the inside out. So. I really believe it has to do with self-love more than anything. Mm-hmm. And if your husband get an image or two as a gift, great. I'm sure he would love it. Right. But it's really a gift for you.
Yeah. So beautiful. So beautiful. So, all right, there's another ageless project that you're working on right now. Yep. So talk about that.
So this magazine, I have 70 women in there, and about 54 or 55 of them has fulfilled the everything about having a love letter and the whole
their
whole
images.
Thing.
It's gorgeous. Gorgeous.
And here is the pink lady that's on the cover. I went to Los Angeles and photographed her there. She's everything in the house is pink. She even trademarked her name. This is Healy's Grandma Sparky.
Yes.
And
now this woman is 80, and she 80. Is on a mission to touch 1 billion lives with her Blue Ribbon movement. Who I Am Makes a Difference. She's at 50 million, 80 years old, and looking fabulous and beautiful. Yeah. So fun. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think what actually made me know that this was important is when who really saved me when I was at my lowest was Lisa Nichols.
Yes.
She didn't know it at the time.
Right here.
Yeah.
This is Lisa.
She didn't know it at the time. She didn't know who I was. But I had watched The Secret and The Law of Attraction. Mm-hmm. And she was the one who I had resonated with, because she was a single mom.
Yeah.
And struggling. And so she was my inspiration.
Yes.
And to fast forward, she was at a networking event speaking here in San Diego. And I went up to her afterwards and said, I just want to thank you. I know you don't know who I am, but you more or less saved my life. And she's like, well, who are you? And I was holding some marketing materials. And she's like, let me see that. Wow, you're good. Do you do branding photography? And I'm like, yeah. And then she's like, go talk to my assistant. And I couldn't believe it. We're talking about law of attraction, full circle.
So such a great story.
And on my way out, she was getting into her car, and I handed her another of my little pamphlets with boudoir pictures. And I said, maybe you want to do boudoir. Yeah. And she's like, nah, that's not for me. No. And then it took 9 times, and this is a good lesson too, not to give up. 9 times of emailing before I got her to say yes. And she's like, yeah, I think I'm going to do that boudoir pictures. Mm-hmm. And then she was trying to cancel 3 times. And later she told me that pamphlet was sitting on my nightstand for 4 months.
Wow.
I was too afraid to call and book the appointment because I was too afraid of what the camera was going to see.
Oh.
And then when she came in here, this is, if you don't know who Lisa Nichols is, they call her the GOAT, right? The greatest of all time.
She's the #1 motivational speaker in the world. Number 1 female motivational speaker in the world. She's epic. Yeah.
So when I saw the transformation that she had during this, then I knew, like, if the queen of transformation will have a transformation in my studio,
Yes.
I know that, this is powerful.
Yeah.
And so that was amazing. And ever since then, I just knew that this is my calling and this is my passion. And so we're doing season 2 right now. My goal is to get 100 women and do a coffee table book.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
Yes.
Ann knows I'm doing it. Yeah.
And also, you don't realize how hard and empowering it is to sit down and write a love letter to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It has a lot to do with forgiveness, and it's okay to say how proud you are, and I mean, if we had time, I would read some in here, but there's some amazing, and I think this can be very inspiring, particularly for young women, to see that we, even though we are 40 and above, that we have overcome. We're on the other side. We are powerful. We can still feel sexy, sensual, no matter what age, no matter what size, no matter what we've been through.
You're right.
And that's what that's all about.
It is motivational for our younger generation. I was telling Ann that I saw a video of me in my 30s. My kids were young. And I couldn't believe how beautiful I was. Mm-hmm. But I know how I felt about myself back then. And I thought, oh my God, if I could go back and tell her, and which is why I want to impart this on my daughter, and to all the women out there, with all your daughters, to be able to, have them fall in love with themselves now and not be so critical. And part of the ageless brand with these women is they've come to that place, and you do come to that place but through this experience of really honoring who you are on the inside and who you are on the outside. Yeah. It's a beautiful mission and movement.
And then what I did this year in February, I had a summit on 2/22/22.
Yes.
And there was kind of the reveal of this magazine. So it was almost, I felt like I was giving birth to something, and just like I'm feeling the same thing now with my course. So this was my daughter, and the course is kind of like my son. We had over 100 women on this. It didn't cost anything to be there, and I had 6 really, really powerful speakers on there they're up to doing some great things, and they have also been through some stuff. Right? They just didn't end up like that one day they woke up. They have done the journey, they've done the work on themselves, and they have all come from some sort of trauma or something that happened in their life. So it was very, I truly believe that we women, we need the camaraderie and knowing we're not alone. And also everybody just said how empowering the whole project had been to be part of. And like we had all that, like now we're like a secret community. Like we're we're part of the Ageless. Oh, I was part of it. I'm going to be part of it. Yeah. So it's really,
well, you're going to get the opportunity to be a part of it too. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you a link right now to reach out to you and to be part of the second project. What are you calling it? Chapter 2 or volume 2? Volume 2. Mm-hmm. And that is at, what's the link?
It's studioageless.com.
Studioageless.com. And you can see it right there. And we'll have it in the show notes too for you to be a part of this. So don't miss out on your opportunity to work with Ann directly and this community of amazing women for the Ageless brand. And then, of course, to work with you directly for Boudoir photography. They can do that at annphotography.com.
Yeah. And if you just want to come into, I have a VIP, private VIP group called Ageless. So you can look that up on Facebook and come on in there, where we are having conversations. If you're in business, I allow you to promote yourself. You got a book coming out, anything, all about supporting other women. So
that's fabulous. Fabulous. All right. I have one final question for you with our last minute or two. So Ann, this show is I Have Today. It's about intentional living. Mm-hmm. How do you live the I Have Today way? What does that mean for you?
It means to...
Oh, wait, let me first say, can you start it with I have today too?
I have today to love myself, because I can't go and exchange myself for a younger, better version than what I have today. So the work that I'm doing now is not only inspiring other people, but it is also as much work on myself, because I think we are a work in progress. We're never done. We're always improving in whatever we're doing, personal, business. So I love learning and growing. So I have
Beautiful.
today to grow.
I love it. I love it. Well, it's really been a pleasure having you on. I have today.
Yeah,
So
so
much
great.
fun. So much fun. All right. So again, for Ann, you can go to studioageless.com if you want to get involved in the Ageless project, and then also to work with Ann directly and find out more about her, including her branding course, go to annphotography.com. All right. Well, that's it for our episode today. Thank you so much for being here, and sending you so much love and light. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.